All right. So, welcome to the second session of Game Dev Club. Today, we are doing a general presentation on game engines. And this isn't supposed to really be a tutorial, but it's supposed to let you know what's out there. Um, there's there's some common engines in here. There's some lesser known, well, not that lesser known. I think every engine that we've put in this presentation has at least been, how do I put it? Like, you'll see it eventually throughout your years at RIT. You'll see Unity and Unreal, which we'll talk about in classes. We'll cover Godot and Pico, which aren't in classes, but we're just giving you a general overview, comparing them all to each other, just as a sort of guide to help you choose what engine you want to work on. And to ideally encourage you to explore them and be a little more comfortable. So, what is a game engine? A game engine is something that will compile code for you, our assets. It will do all of the hard stuff that goes into making a game. That way, all you have to focus on is the actual programming, designing, and implementation parts of game design. So you do not have to make the pipeline tools to make your games. Some people like to see how game engines are made. They like to do that. I personally like having that stuff just ready for me so I could just get straight to the project. But yeah, they do the hard stuff so you don't have to. So we're gonna start with Unity. This one's a classic. I use Unity for some of my projects, and you'll see Unity a lot in our classes. Unity is, you'll mainly be programming in C#. There are extensions for visual scripting, and for those of you who possibly do not know what visual scripting is, that's you could also phrase it as drag and drop programming almost, where everything is blocks. Basically, you get blocks of code that you connect to other blocks of code instead of typing line by line. In Unity, you can expect to do a good amount of scripting though, because it wasn't built to be a visual scripting platform. And if you're intimidated by the idea of like, oh my God, I don't know how to code, how am I going to, do I need to learn all of C# in order to program? The answer is, I would say no. I don't think you, I mean, I doubt I know all of C#. I would say through the classes, most students only know a fraction of C#. I don't even know what it means to know all of a programming language, but I know I don't know all of C#. But there's a lot of tutorials for Unity. You will find walkthroughs, you will find step-by-step guides. A lot of people will use Brachy's tutorials. If ever anybody knows him, they've probably been on his channel so many times. But there's documentation and there's resources for Unity. And also, this game dev community is really familiar with that engine, so also feel free to ask us questions about it. So why do we use it? It's a great platform for making 2D and 3D games. Some people prefer to make 2D games in Unity and will go to Unreal for more of their 3D stuff. It doesn't matter which you go to for, it doesn't matter if you want to be 2D or 3D focused in Unity. They've got really good import tools, and also what I like about Unity is that it doesn't kill my computer. It doesn't take much to run Unity. You can almost run it on, you can run it on most computers, whereas Eddie will probably explain in Unreal. I know it's really heat up my laptop before. So Unity is a nice, calm game engine where you could still do a lot of stuff on it. So we're going to link the presentation afterwards. Here are some general resources on Unity. And if we have enough time at the end of this presentation, we'll also be down to do a general Q&A because a lot of us have worked inside of these engines, or if you're Julian, we threw we threw somebody into one of these engines so they could get a hang of it.
Oh yeah.
So some popular Unity games. My favorite is Going Under. Love Going Under, made by Aggro Crab. We've got Hollow Knight, and Genshin Impact was apparently also made in Unity. I don't play Genshin. My roommates do. My roommates talk about it nonstop. But when I go in and look at that TV and I hear that it's made in Unity, I have to do a double take every time. It's insane to me. It shows you how powerful Unity can be. All right, Eddie.
Yeah, so I'm sure you've heard of Unreal. I'm actually not sure. I can't assume anything about anybody here, but it's pretty popular. So unlike Unity, Unreal is based in C++. It's basically only 3D. There are 2D like things, but they kind of deprecated that. Like not really. Like if you want to make a 2D game in Unreal, it's possible, but not recommended. Um, but the main thing about Unreal is that, again, unlike Unity, not a lot of classes like give you the opportunity to use it. There's virtual worlds, I think, and that's the only one I can think of off the top of my head that has like Unreal as a requirement for doing the class. It has a lot of good features for like starting projects, um, and like it has a lot of built-in things, but that means it's harder to like get a more customized end result. Not impossible, but it's definitely going to take a lot of undoing what Unreal does by default. And it's a really good way to practice C++, either before or after you learn about it in, say, DSA if you're a GDD major. So again, we use it because very fast prototyping. It starts with a lot of templates. If you want to make a first-person game, you can already, pop in and it'll have the first-person character controller all ready for you to modify. So, if you just want to start a prototype, Unreal's great for that. Uh, there's also a lot of free assets on the store. They change out like every month, I believe. So if you don't know how to make assets yourself or don't have the time or the resources, that's a great way to also make stuff is just get some free assets from the asset store. It's also really widely used to this day in the industry. Unity is less common in like the AAA space, not so much anymore, but Unreal is everywhere. Um, so if you use it for your own projects, you're getting very valuable experience. And it also has node-based scripting. Unity is starting to get this, but Unreal's had it for a long time. It's very extensive, and it's great if you don't necessarily know how to code. For those of us here who aren't necessarily like coding based or GDD majors who may already not gotten their feet wet with like C sharp or a similar language, node-based scripting is there for you, and it can even help you learn how to code if before you get started with that if you want to learn more about the actual coding process. So there are a lot of good resources for Unreal. Their documentation isn't quite as good as Unity's, but it's there. You've got the Answer Hub, a lot like Stack Exchange. There are official tutorials for how to set things up. They even have a page for how to learn Unreal Engine if you're used to Unity. So if you want to start with Unity, especially because if you're a GDD major, a lot of classes are geared towards it. Uh, they got you covered there. And then there are some also good places on YouTube to start with, like Matthew Watstein and Ray Wenderlich. So as for games that have been made with Unreal, um, you've got pretty much most games. Well, not most games, but like pick a game. There's a very good chance it was made with Unreal. Some of the more recent ones are Final Fantasy VII Remake, Tetris Effect, the Guilty Gears, the newer ones. So basically, and also that's to show that again, you can get it to look, like a game in Unreal can look however you want it to look, but it's going to take more effort to get it there than in say Unity, which basically starts you with nothing, but then you have to work from nothing. So it's more a matter of what you're looking for when starting a project and what you need, what language you want to work with. So, Julian, I'm going to pass it to you.
You forgot the most important Unreal game, though.
Which
Fortnite.
You did.
I did on
True,
purpose.
true.
This is very intentional.
Good job.
All right, so yeah, so Godot, I didn't, so like, how long ago was it? 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago? I did not know Godot. So I decided to learn it for this presentation, but also because I was kind of looking for something, because, you know, Unreal and Unity are good, but you know, there's some issues, like they're both closed source. If you start making too much money, then you start to have to pay. With the Unity, you have to pay for a subscription, or, you know, you can use your student account to get rid of the like intro logo of like splash screen for like Unity. And also, you know, there's some like controversy going on with Unity that occasionally gets brought up. So I kind of, you know, wanted to look for something else that was like an alternative. And I can't make my own engine because I'm not good enough. So, so Godot is a really great alternative. So it's a free and open source engine. So FOSS, if you know that term. And it's a very simple, lightweight editor. It opens very fast, much quicker than Unity, and it runs on pretty much most computers, a lot like Unity. And its goal is to be a more open and available alternative to, like, you know, other popular engines, and still offer the same amount of features. So it is both 2D and 3D. And the 3D tools are still a tiny bit more primitive than, like, you know, more engines, but they can still do quite a bit. And there are constant updates that are making it like better all the time. So the languages it uses, it supports quite a few languages. So its main one is GDScript, which is kind of its own programming language. It's kind of a blend between like Python and Lua. The syntax is like Python, but it's sort of built to work with the engine really well. And I thought I wouldn't like it, but I think it works really well because it makes things very simple to do. So even if you're don't think you're good at coding, it's really easy to get into GDScript, easier than like C++ or something. But for those of you who want it and are familiar with those things, there is a C# compatibility, which isn't as great. It's not quite as streamlined, and it could use improvement, but it's there for those who like that. And there's also C# or C++ support. So because it's open source, you can modify engine code. And C++, you can write C++ code and that will compile like sort of like as part of not part of the engine, but it will compile rather than like going at runtime, which I think GDScript runs at runtime, but I could be wrong about that. In any case, C++ is faster. So if you want really fast code and you want more control, you can use C++ if you want to. And the best part is you can actually mix these. You can use like GDScript for one script and like C++ for like, an algorithm you want to run fast. There is also a visual scripting, but it is a bit like, it's not that great so far. There is certainly it's like 3.3, I think, is the version we're on now. There is a 4.0 update coming soon, and I think it's going to make a lot of improvements to a lot of things generally. It's kind of hype, as the kids say. So anyway, the next slide.
As the kids say.
So yeah, so some of the features of Godot. So like, why use Godot? So like I said, you don't have to pay for Godot. It's completely free, more free than Unity and Unreal, which is a weird thing to say, but it's kind of true. So you don't have to pay any licensing fees. You don't like pay any percentage of what you make. If you make it's licensed under the like MIT license, which basically means anything you make with it, you can like put that out, you can sell it, you can make money off it, and like, yeah, it's yours. You don't have to give them any money, although you should, because they're doing it for free too. So and since it's open source, you can access everything in the engine. So you can, like, if there's something that's not working like you want, you can go and just fix that. If there's an issue you're having, you can go on GitHub, find the if anyone's had the same issue, if anyone's fixed it. And before Godot even updates their engine, you can fix it yourself. I've had this actually, I've done this with like add-ons, and it's great. And speaking of add-ons, there is an asset library, which, like the engine, is everything on there is free and open source. And you can, like Unity, if you install a package and you try to modify it, it might do a weird thing where it like doesn't really let you, or it changes it back whenever you restart. With Godot, whenever you download an asset or like a package, or I guess they're called add-ons, same thing. You can modify that add-on yourself and it will leave it like that. So it's basically just very, very open, which is great. And also it's very lightweight. It opens way faster than Unity or Unreal, like just a couple seconds. So that's like a big plus. Yeah. So resources, like the other engines, it has its own docs, but the docs are actually built into the engine, which is really nice. So if you're ever confused about like a class or some component, you can just press F1 and just start searching, and you can pull up the docs like right in the editor, which is really nice. There's a Q&A form, a lot like what Unity has, and I think Unreal has. And there's like lots of tutorials online. I found a GD Quest, is the YouTube channel. I used those, and that got me up to speed really quickly. So there's not too many well-known games, but there's been quite a few released indie games that use Godot. Mostly because it's just a new engine and it's like small. Oh yeah, so yeah, okay, the Sonic Colors remake. Yeah, so I guess technically it uses Godot, which is cool, but also not, because that didn't end well. If anyone knows about the Sonic Colors remake, I don't have anything to say about that. I don't know the details, but
I hear
yeah.
it's a great game.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a good game. I don't think the port went well.
I think
Oh,
it went
that's what
fantastically. Go out and support the Blue Blur.
There were, yeah, yeah. I don't think it's Godot's fault. I'm gonna say that. Anyway, yeah, but that is cool. A AAA company is looking at Godot. That's nice. Anyway, so yeah, this is software. New slide. Whoa. So this is a really, really cool thing about Godot that I think is crazy. So the UI for Godot, which is on the left here, is created using Godot's own UI tools, which means whenever you want to make like an editor tool, like Unity, it's very locked down. You kind of have to use their own like weird API. With Godot, you basically just do the same thing that the engine does. You can basically build into the engine your own like custom UI, and it integrates like perfectly. You're basically like modifying the engine, but like, I don't know. It's very cool. So people have actually made software. Yeah, so yeah, Owen. So yeah, if you don't like anything about that UI, you can change it basically. Or you can add like a window that pops up. So like, for instance, what I did is I made it so I'm working on like a dialogue-based game, and I have like these, like they're not these nodes, they're called nodes, that when I click them, I want it to like show a little pop-up that lets me edit the dialogue tree. So I can make it so, I don't know if you can see on the bottom, there's like, oh no, it cuts off. But anyway, on the bottom of the screen, there's like a little like tab thing for like, debugging and output and stuff. So I made it so when you click on one of those nodes, it shows another tab for the dialogue tree, for editing the dialogue tree. And that's like seamlessly in the editor, and it works with everything else. But what's cool about this is you can actually export that UI as like a thing, and you can make tools with this. So like there's a sort of alternative to like Substance Painter. called Material Maker that's made in Godot and uses the Godot UI tools and exports itself to its own like program. But it's like you can see it's sort of like the same, like a very similar UI, just styled differently. It's very cool. There's a lot of, I don't know, it's just cool. At this point, I'm just gushing over this engine. Anyway,
Julian
so,
wants to date this engine. That's how good
it's
this is.
amazing. I've been convinced within like, you know, like a few days, I managed to port my Unity game to it. It's really good. I really like it. I'm done though. That's it.
What's up, Kenny?
All right. Hey everybody.
Talk
So
about
next
the
one-
best engine.
Yeah, let's talk about the best engine. Just as Katie put it here, it's called Mono Game. Mono meaning one, as you know. So it's a C# game engine framework that you really only use and probably will only ever use, I'm just saying, in GDAPS 2 for your first game project. And just to talk about a little bit more, what I mean by that is you only ever open Visual Studios. You aren't going to hit that Windows key and type in Unreal or, you know, Unity and whatever. It's in Visual Studios. Anyways, you can move on now. So for your resources, you have your fantastic GDAPS 2 professor or TA. And then you will also have, this is kind of from the textbook that you use in GDAPS 2, actually, I believe, but the person actually who wrote that textbook also made this website, but there are some Mono Game tutorials that I linked there. Yeah, there isn't really too much. I try to look a little bit. There isn't too much about it. I think there's a fairly passionate, you know, Reddit of developers, but there isn't like, there aren't, it isn't as, it's nowhere used as much as Unity or Unreal or probably even Godot at this point. Yeah, anyways, moving on. There are some instances of popular games that have been made in it, and that would include, you know, Stardew Valley, Bastion, and Celeste. But however, when I say this, I also have to like kind of include the caveat that from when I read up on it, like on the Mono Game website, they'll throw these games on there. But then if you actually like go to like look it up, the developers or people will say it's like a heavily modified version such that it's not really even Mono Game at that point because they kind of made their own engine. But yeah, that's Mono Game. I wish I could be more enthusiastic about it. I could just say some of like the good things about it. When you're first coming into making a game, it can be kind of intimidating to get Unity thrown at you or Unreal or something, because you're, you know, in GDAPS 1 and 2, the sequences, you're really just using Visual Studios. So in that way, like you're still within a familiar landscape of like staying inside of Visual Studios. And everything that you code is what you get pretty much. So like in Unity and Unreal, there's often like a lot of stuff like they kind of give you off the bat, or there's a lot of like different kinds of tools that you might have to like learn how to use. But for Mono Game, you're using your code to make everything. So if it's not there, it's because you didn't code it. If it is there, it's because you did. So that can be kind of helpful when you're like a beginner. And like Godot, it's also like open source and it has the MIT license and all that. So that could be nice. Yeah. Next slide, I guess. I think just shows the images of the games I mentioned.
Another thing I want to add, I might have missed it if Kenny already said it, but what people usually do with Mono Game is use it as a base for an engine, and then they build off of it and turn it into something else, which I think is what Supergiant does. And Supergiant worked on Bastion and Hades.
Yeah, and I kind of mentioned it. I don't know if I cut out or something, but yeah, for like Mono Game on their website likes to say like these games use Mono Game, but then if you actually look it up, like I said, a lot of developers are like, yeah, we started with Mono Game, but at the end, I wouldn't really say we used Mono Game. Yeah, Axiom Verge is also on their website. I think that was made by an RIT alumni. I think
It was, yes.
So
they love to say that during orientations.
Yes, I think we also RIT alumni also made Exploding Kittens. I'm pretty sure. So there you go. Completely unrelated, but those are my two alumni that I know.
The card game Exploding Kittens was made on Mono Game.
I wish.
Fun fact. No.
I'm just seeing something in the chat. I think I can
I
answer
can't
this.
see the chat.
I don't think there will be.
Logan
Yes.
asks, will we ever have a talk about building a custom engine?
It's certainly possible, but I know there's classes for that. I believe.
I could probably talk to Kent since Kent
Yeah.
decided to make an engine for Duck Game, but we do have students who have made their own engines. So also feel free to ask people about their engines in chat. They might just pop up out of the blue and be like, "Hey, you want to hear about our engine?"
Yeah,
But,
I'm not
yeah.
super intent on learning. I was just curious.
Yeah.
It's like a hard thing to boil down into like 1 or 2 hours.
Yeah. No.
Right.
If we threaten Kent, we can do it.
Alright.
We've already threatened him enough.
Right.
Anyways, that's all I've got. Time to get back to.
All right, so I can't see in the Zoom chat because I had a whole period where my Zoom kind of broke in the middle of that. I can see video, I can see my face, but I'm sorry if you say anything through chat. Eboard, please relay any messages to me. Now we're gonna cover fantasy consoles. What is a fantasy console? It's basically an application where it's designed to fit old constraints. So when people used to develop for the Super Nintendo, they would only have so much storage, so they could only have so much art, code, room for level design, all constrained. People like to work under these constraints for creativity reasons. They like the retro feel. Some people want to challenge that retro feel and try to make it feel new with old tools. Yeah, I've used it before in a game jam just because I was curious and I wanted to take a step out of the normal engines that I use that make me really want to work with like bigger graphics or just larger assets that I might actually not need for certain things. So fantasy consoles can also be good for prototyping. Pico 8 in specific, or Pico 8 specifically is programmed in Lua. Lua is a funky little language. I want to say it's close to JavaScript, maybe. What's weird about it is that instead of closing a function with brackets, you write the word end and your function is closed. Really weird. I kind of like it. When working in Pico, it didn't feel bad to use. You could also use
Oh,
a text
Kaylee,
editor.
the slide's
Yes.
wrong. It's still on the monogame slide for
How?
Zoom viewers.
What monogame slide do you see?
It's why use it.
I was way past that. Like I was on popular games and stuff. What do you see, Eddie?
I see the monogame
I
slide.
see that
I
too.
also see why we use it. Or why you
So-
Apologies, technical difficulties.
Oh
Fun
no.
fact, I don't
Zoom.
even have like the taskbar for Zoom. I'm suffering.
Oh god.
Hold on. Let me see. Does anybody
Do you
have
want-
troubleshooting advice?
Do you want
Alt
like me
tab?
to share
Can you do
my
alt
screen or
tab?
something?
If somebody can try to override my screen share, yes, but I don't think anybody is
Yeah,
co-host.
It's
Why-
disabled.
Why
We
not
can't
try
do it.
sharing again? Just
Can you do alt
unshare.
tab?
I don't have that option. I don't have the little toolbar or any menus.
no.
Like even if I would, no matter where I wave my mouse, I do not have it. I just
Oh,
have the
rest in
video
peace.
feed.
There's no
If you press alt tab, it should move between windows.
but there's no
Uh,
is there like a Zoom open like in like the right hand, like bottom right, like taskbar, like like minimized thing?
There's one that appears in the middle of my text bar as a phantom glitch for a second, like in the middle of my type to search bar. Hi, how's it going, everyone?
Don't make a custom engine for Zoom.
I don't like. I can't even leave the Zoom call. I could try to leave and come back. The only thing that's going to be weird is it's going to screw up the recording, and it might kick everyone out.
Yeah. Do you have
Wow.
the thing at the bottom right?
No, I don't. I don't have anything, Julian.
Like the little like Zoom icon, like you know, you have like Discord and Steam open, it shows that.
Yeah, I have Zoom, but if I click it, it doesn't do anything. And also it's flashing, so it's clear I'm getting notifications, but I can't do anything.
Oh, fun. Okay.
Yeah.
What if you hover over it? Does it have like the little pop-up window that you can close out of?
Oh, I killed my video feed. I
Oh,
Oh,
Like,
now
wait.
it's updated.
Wait, I
It's
can
it's
see
good. It's good now. Yeah.
Fantasy
okay,
consoles.
okay. You know what? I'm gonna sacrifice not being able to see my face and Eddie's and just do this blind. Okay. So can you see me change slides too?
No.
Cool. We
Change
We
the
love-
slide now, and by the time you're done with this, well, okay, you already kind of finished this slide, didn't you?
I did.
By the time you finish the next slide, it'll be on that slide.
You know what? You know what? I'll talk about this slide a little longer because I kind of cover the same stuff in the other slide. So that little screenshot, that's a little itty bitty example of Pico 8. Actually, that's all of Pico 8, if I'm honest. You get a scripting window, you get a sprite editor window, a level editor window, a sound effect and music window. So you get a whole bunch of tools with Pico that actually feels really nice to use and straightforward as well. I really loved the level editor actually in Pico, and I liked working in like a smaller space because I don't know, it just felt fun. Almost felt like a game in it of itself. Like if I could have Pico 8 on my phone, I would. All right, let's try to summon. I think I know how to manually change my slides. Can you guys see the new slide?
No.
No.
Dang it. I thought I was onto something. I thought tapping on the random Zoom icons would save the day, but it doesn't. Why is there a transit? Oh my I just saw the last slide and I did not know there was something on it. Okay. So a little extra stuff, a little extra thing about fantasy consoles. There's a few different ones with different constraints. Like Pico, I think limits you to 12 colors. Other engines will give you 32. If you find them, you can find Pico 8 on itch.io. And if you get Pico 8 specifically, you'll have access to a crap ton of games. I think it connects to the server and regularly downloads them. I could be wrong about that, but I can't see chat to correct me if I'm wrong. Also, a fun fact about Pico 8 is that Celeste was originally made on Pico 8 for a game jam, and then it was brought over to Monogame. So that's a little something for you. You can actually play the Pico version in Celeste if you find the right room. I really want to be able to get the feedback for the last slide. I know Eddie would like people to see it.
Yes, it's very important that we show them the last slide.
But the thing is, I don't think I can get there.
Unfortunate.
I don't.
You'll just have to see it when we put up the presentation on the website. It's a special surprise.
I suppose. All right. So, I mean, my end of Zoom is broken, but your guys' end of Zoom is not broken. So, does anybody have any questions about
Oh yeah, you want
general?
to pop a screenshot
Hold
of
up.
the last few slides?
I
Hold up.
actually I added a transition effect just for the last slide. I was hoping it would get.
Oh damn.
Well, unfortunately, project sharing is going to be pretty difficult if we can't give other people screen share access. So
We do it. We could just do it on
in the
Discord.
Discord. Yeah.
that's true.
Also, my
Oh.
laptop is also dying while I do this. We're playing with all of the risks here, like professionals would. What if my Zoom taskbar comes back when I plug this in?
The
Be
magic
fun.
of modern technology.
My computer just I tried to open the slides to like just to see the transition, and my computer is like blank.
I only added one for the last. It's just for the last slide.
This is a
Yeah.
cursed slideshow.
I got to experience it. But
thank you.
does anybody have
My, I'm
does
worried
anybody
now.
have
I'm gonna have to
Julia,
restart my
let me
computer.
let me ask the people if they have
My
questions.
computer broke.
Nobody cares about your broken computer. I do care. I really wanted to fight through that. I'm sorry for your loss,
Yeah.
Julian. Does anybody have any questions about Game Engine? We're doing great. I can't read chat, so
Yeah,
Evord,
I'll
if
read.
somebody
I can read the
asks-
chat. Yeah.
are people concerned?
Nobody's saying anything. The last message was oof at 7:40.
Thank you,
That's
Patrick, for
even
your
funnier.
concern.
Nobody said anything. Wow.
Patrick just sent a side carrot 3 representative of a heart and oof times 2.
Thanks.
Now again, sorry, lol. I just got here and oof times 3.
That's
Now off times 4. Okay.
the slide is
Okay.
crazy.
Okay, does anybody have
No,
questions about the
ha, ha.
game engines we presented about?
Yeah. That.
The
All right, we
good-
got one finally. So is Unreal good for people who are more into the art or animation side of things with games? Twiddle
yeah,
thumbs.
because node-based scripting, you don't really need to know how to like code to just start in Unreal, because you can use blueprint scripting, which is basically you have nodes that you can connect together to make code. So it's sort of like a beginner. It's like advanced Scratch. If you've ever used Scratch before, it's like, what if Scratch were an actual game engine, basically. So like if you're an artist or an animator, Unreal is perfect because you can just use the nodes. You can use blueprints. You don't need to know how to code right away.
Then Patrick asked, what game engines do you all use most? I'll just take it real quick and say Unity would be the preference of me.
I'm a Unity user as well.
Unity, but I'm trying to get more into C++ based game engines. And
Also-
Julian's answer is Godot, obviously.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
do want to reiterate. Please feel free to like get your hands dirty when working with these engines. A lot of what it takes for getting used to these engines is literally just that first leap. Like, you know what? I'm going to learn how to do this. Remember that there's a bunch of tutorials online for these engines, especially Unity. That's why Unity is also considered to be very beginner friendly. Then trying to think of anything else to add.
Oh, Fabian asks, will Unity melt your laptop? Probably
No.
not, but Unreal
No.
might. Unreal might.
And Zoom might.
Yeah. Unreal might melt your laptop. It's pretty hefty. Like, I'm pretty fine with it on my laptop, but I have one of those fancy laptops that you should not buy because it's an inadvisable purchase for a laptop. But generally, yeah, Unity is a lot lighter on computers than Unreal is.
Also, if we're talking about kind of engine weight, Pico 8 and other fantasy consoles will also typically be lighter on computers since they don't require as much to run.
This isn't really related to what's being presented, but did you guys see all the PlayStation games revealed today?
I absolutely did.
I did not, but I've heard some pieces
It
of
was fantastic. Spider-Man 2 announcement, Game of the Year 2023. Right
it.
up my alley. What I was waiting for. Brendan has it correct in the chat. Spider.man. And for those of you who are more, God of War oriented, you got that, So I feel like everybody kind of, for the most part, got something. I mean, I definitely did. And Wolverine, they baited us with Wolverine, and I was still hyped for that. But I was like, okay, I guess if they're working on Wolverine, they're not making Spider-Man 2. And then they came right after. They're like, psych, and I was like, yo, I love Insomniac games. Shout out to them. That was great. Anyways, does anybody have any other questions surrounding the game engine stuff?
If not,
Is-
we
Does anybody in the chat also have really good advice for people who are just starting to get involved with game engines?
My advice is if you want to learn a game engine, do a game jam with it. Get your friends, learn it all together because you will learn an engine. Like, this is true of anything with game development, really. If you want to learn fast, do a game jam because you'll be forced to do it as fast as possible and you'll learn so much so quick just by doing a game jam. Just like,
Again, that's how I learned Pico 8. More advice.
also, Patrick is correct. Watch Brackeys. If you're doing anything in Unity, there's probably a tutorial for it on Brackeys. Except for the newer stuff because Brackeys is rest in peace. He's gone.
He's not dead.
He's not dead. His channel is just inactive. He's quit the videos. So if you want anything from like recent Unity stuff, you'll have to go elsewhere. I don't know when exactly he stopped. I want to say sometime last year or the year before, but very recent Unity stuff is not covered by Brackeys. But a lot of the old videos still apply to Unity today. So it's still a very, very useful resource. Highly recommended. Like you can't use Unity without at least watching a Brackeys tutorial. It's
Yeah.
basically required.
I would say try to stay like, every week 1 to 2 hours of like serious dedication of like just play around in Unity or any of your engine of choice and really sit down and learn it. Doing that now at the beginning of your like schooling will help massively in years 3 and 4 when you really want to start making really, really good projects and stuff for when you like go out into the workforce. And it's also a lot of fun to do that once you get better. So starting early helps later. You don't have to do that much a week, honestly.
Yeah. Also, do not expect, if you are a GDD student, you won't get like a formal step-by-step tutorial on Unity and Unreal. You'll dip your toes in it. You'll still get some help learning it, but you won't get a formal like, hey, how do I make a platformer tutorial? So highly recommend you seek that out on your own time. Also, get yourself ahead.
John, you say you have advice?
Yeah, I've mostly worked with Unity for like a long time, since I was like around 12 or something. My main piece of advice would probably be to start on like your own projects rather than go for videos that explain how to do like a whole project. They're good for like starter stuff, but I wouldn't get attached to it. I would say like think of something that you want to do, like something like a fun game you want to make and learn that, because I found the experience of trying to make my own creation instead of following someone else's to be way more both rewarding and like I've learned a lot more that way.
Yeah, this is why Brackeys gets recommended a lot because he does not teach you how to make. Well, he's done tutorials that are like, here's a starter project of this kind of game, but most of the videos are about concepts that you are going to apply to any number of games. Like,
Man, I miss him.
I like if you want to know how to do lighting, there's a Brackeys video on it. If you want to know how to make a character controller, there's a Brackeys video on it. So that's why people recommend Brackeys so much. Is it's like he doesn't tell you, okay, I've given you the starter code. It's like here's a concept that you can use for a lot of different things.
Yeah, for example, recently, like I'm trying to start work on my game. So I wanted to learn Unity's new input system. Boom, bam, Unity new input system Brackeys. And then I do that. And since he doesn't go fully in depth on like a project, I have to figure out for myself how to input my code into the input system instead of just like mindlessly following a tutorial. So yeah.
Thanks for coming to our annual Brackeys convention. Any final questions before we take it to project sharing on Discord?
Another reminder, feel
Oh.
free to reach out to the game dev server for any questions. Is there another question,
Yes.
Eddie?
Owen asks, do you think any of Brackeys videos can apply to other engines? They're definitely more Unity oriented. He's been sponsored by Unity in the past. They're very like they're not completely inapplicable, but like a lot of it is using like components and parts of Unity that are specifically like, like, yeah, Patrick says he has very old videos that are just basic C# tutorials that I don't think are just Unity. So, those are more applicable to other things because C#, can apply a lot of those concepts to JavaScript, which you can use for a lot of stuff on the web and that kind of thing. But like generally, if you want to learn a lot about Unity, is what Brackeys is good for. But like for example, his video on how to make a player controller in Unity is not really going to help you with, say, Unreal, which has completely different systems for how to set all that stuff up.
I do want to add that like a lot of the times skills from one game engine are transferable to others. Like I'm very familiar with Unity. When I tried to learn Godot, it was pretty easy to get familiar. It is a bit different. Like the nodes are a lot like just components and game objects kind of in one. But it's sort of the same idea and it's the same sort of layout and everything. So kind of going to that, I just had to kind of rethink a few things and how I thought about how things worked. But other than that, it was kind of the same workflow.
Okay, one last question. Do animations game cinematic have to be rendered done in the game engines where their games are made? Well, that's up to your own discretion. Like a lot of older games, like Wii era and before, do a lot of pre-rendered cutscenes, which I don't think are even made in engine. They're made in other software, and then they make a video file and they put it in the game. And there's nothing stopping you from doing this with a modern video game. So, if you want your cutscenes to be pre-rendered, like especially if you're trying for like an old school kind of game, like you're making a game that emulates a PS2 era style or like previous, then yeah, you can totally just pre-render your cutscenes and put the video files in the engine and play them if you want to. Like you don't have to render your game engine cutscenes in the engine. If you want to do your cutscenes in engine, you can. So it's really it's up to you if you want to do that. And that's basically the case with any game engine these days.
Do we think we're good? If you have any extra questions, you can ask them in the Discord. Other than that, if we are done with questions, we can jump into Discord for project sharing. And I cannot be in the void that is Zoom. I feel like I've got like this dark force dripping on my computer that I can't wipe off. It's just Zoom's broken. I've never seen this before. Check screenshots in the general of Game Dev Club. Did the link for Game Dev Club send in Zoom?
Yeah, the Discord link.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
because
saw it.
all right, then that's good. I did get one of my last messages out then. All right, we'll call it there. I'll have to pull out Task Manager and then I'll join you guys. Eddie, you can feel free to kick off project sharing as I recover.
Awesome. I might go ahead and share the final slide as well.
Do
for
that.
those of
Do
you who
that.
stick around.
All right. Thank you for coming, everybody. We'll probably see you in the Discord.
Bye bye.
All right, see ya.
Let's go, Task Manager. Let's do this.